Hi and welcome. In this video we're going to be looking at effects and styles, and in particular how to add effects and styles to type. My name's Ken Fisher and this is LiveLink Training. Okay, before we look at styling type, let's have a look at adding some type to an image. Well, here I've got an image of mine of Chromapia, and I thought it looked a bit like a starship, so I thought I'd add a title to that effect. So if I'm going to add some text, then I need to select the text tool, and I can do that from the toolbar here by clicking on the T, or I can just press the T key on the keyboard. And then if you look at my cursor here, I've got what we call like an I-beam, and this means that I'm in text mode. And you'll see at the top that we've got the tool options for the text tool, and we'll be looking a little bit more at them in a minute. But first I need to set down a point where I'm going to start this text. So I'm going to click just once on the keyboard and you'll get a flashing cursor. And this means now that I'm in text mode, and if you look in my layers panel you'll see that I've now got a layer and it's got a T in it because it's a text layer at the top of the stack. So now I'm going to type my title. SS Chromapia. Sounds quite cool. But as we can see, it's gone off the left hand side of the image. Now I need to be able to get it back. Now it's important to watch what I'm going to show you now, because the cursor does change, and in the most recent version of Photoshop they've made it even more confusing. So what you've got to do is, if you want to move text, if you move into the text, it thinks you're trying to rename it or change the spelling or whatever. So if I click inside the text, my flashing cursor moves, and I can click there and I can click there, and if I want to I can change the text. But I can't drag the text. If I drag it, it thinks I'm trying to highlight it. Okay, so now if I move just a little bit away, I get the move tool. You'll see that little symbol there, that's the move tool. Now I'm not going to move it just yet. What I want to do is I just want to move away a little bit more, and you'll see my cursor will change to this little arrow, and that's a selection arrow. Now the two do different things, so you've got to be careful where you click. Now at the moment I do not want to set my text down, and setting the text down will mean that I'll have to come back into it again if I want to edit it, which I don't want to do. I just want to move it. So I need the move tool. So wherever you move, it doesn't matter. You can move higher, lower, round the front, round the back, it doesn't matter. If you just move away from the text a little bit till you get your move tool, left click and hold down and drag. And you can drag all your text into the position where you like, and when you let go, it's still live editable text. You've still got this vertical flashing cursor and you've got this underline. Now what's that other little icon that I showed you? Well, that was basically it's a one-click set down. So, and it was introduced in a fairly recent version of Photoshop. Now if I move away a little bit, you'll see again I get the move tool. If I move away a little bit more, it changes to the direct selection, and if I now just left click, it sets that text down for me. So again, if I want to go in and change anything, I can move my mouse into the text and I can click, and I could change anything, which we're going to do in a minute. We can change anything to do with the text. If I basically just want to move the text, then I've got to move slightly away till my move tool appears, drag, let go, and then if I want to set this text down now, I can either go up to the arrow and click, or I can just move away till I get that little direct selection arrow and click once, and I can set the text down. Another method you could use as well, if you're on the keyboard, is you could press the enter key. But when I say enter, I don't mean the return key. The return key and the enter keys on laptops, basically they look like, well, it's the same key, but you can't use the return key. So if I click here and I've got this text live and I want to set it down, if I press the return key on the keyboard, which I'm going to do, You'll see what it do. It jumps down and says, oh, you want to put another line in. You've just pressed a carriage return. And that's not what I wanted to do. Now, if you've got a full keyboard on a PC or a Mac, then you will have an enter key. And if you press that enter key, it will set the text down. If you're on a laptop like I am and I don't have an enter key, I've just got a return key, then if I hold the control key down on a PC or the command key down on a Mac and I press the return key, it will set the text down for me. So there we are. We've got our text and we've got it in the position that we want it. Now we can think of styling the text, and that's what we're going to do next. Okay, let's explore what effects and styles are all about. Now let's think of it from our point of view. Now we may have, let's imagine, a set of clothes that we wear for going to work, and this is our workwear. And then we've got another set of clothes that we wear when we're out partying. Well, these are different styles. And the style is a combination of lots of different effects. So from our point of view, our work style will consist of, let's say, a hard hat and a high-vis jacket and boots. But in the evening, our style is totally different. And this is exactly the same with text. We can hang clothes, if you like, on text. This text we're seeing here is naked text. And we can dress it up exactly as we like. And an effect is one thing that we might do, like a drop shadow. A style is a combination of lots of different effects that all add together to give a look, to give a style. Okay, let's start styling. Now the first thing we need to do if we're going to add some effects or styles is to get into the Styles panel. And that's down here at the bottom of the Layers panel. And it's the little FX icon. If we click on that, we've got access to all our styles and the blending options. Now there is a quicker way. There's a little secret button up here to the right of the name of the layer. And if we double click, it brings us up the Layer Styles dialog, which gives us all the effects so we can build up our own style. Okay, so let's start with a stroke. So I'm going to go to the stroke and I'm going to double click on it, and that's going to bring up the stroke dialog here in the middle. And this is what this definition of this stroke is all about. So we can change the size. So I'll just drop that down a little bit, something like that. And we can change the position. Now the position we can have inside, outside or center. Now outside, it's hanging on the outside of the text. If we do it inside, it goes inside the text itself, the boundary of the text. And if we do center, it goes half and half. I'm going to leave it set to outside for this because I quite like the look of that. I'm going to leave the blend mode to normal, but we've got a whole host of blend modes that we can use. And I'll leave the opacity set to 100. Now the colour, well, this is the colour of the stroke itself. At the moment it's set to this slightly off-white colour. I'm going to click on that to give myself a colour picker. And then I'm going to pick a darkish grey. Something like that. We'll see what that does to start with. Now I'll add a drop shadow. And this does help to add a little bit of separation of text from the background. So I'm going to double click again on drop shadow. And then I'm going to go down through this top drops to the structure section. And we'll leave the blend mode set to normal. We'll leave the colour set to black. And the opacity we'll set to about, let's try 70%, something like that. We'll have an angle, and this is where the light's coming from. So we'll set this to about, say, 60 degrees. And then we've got the distance, the spread, and the size. And this is where we can actually change the nature of how the drop shadow looks. So let's try a distance of about 15. And we can see now that we're popping out from underneath the text itself. And we'll have a spread of around 20, something like that. and we'll have a size, let's say size of 5. And this softens off the shadow for us a little bit. And you can actually, if you want, you just go and grab the drop shadow. It is a separate item, so you can go and grab the drop shadow in the actual image itself and then position it exactly as you think it wants to be. And all I'm doing is just trying to give a little bit of a three-dimensional effect to it. I'm quite happy with that. That's looking pretty good as I'm moving on. Now I'd like to give it a little bit of a metal sort of effect. So I'm going to use the bevel and emboss effect. So double click on that and I'm in mid bevel and embossed styles area. Now I'm going to go down and we can select different styles. Well, I'm going to stick within a bevel. For the technique, I'd like it to be a little bit harder edge this, so I'm going to go for chisel hard. And it looks like I've got a texture on, but I don't really want that, so I'm going to switch that off, and that should give me more of a metallic look. The depth, let's try something a bit lower than that. Let's try about 200 for the depth. So we've just got a little bit of a three-dimensional metallic look. I'm quite liking that. And the size, let's bump that up a bit to about 35, see what that looks like. That's pretty cool. And the softening we'll leave to 0. Now next I think I'll just add, to finish it off, a little bit of a colour overlay. So I'm going to double click on the colour overlay effect and we'll pick a colour from the actual image itself. So I'm going to double click on the colour swatch and I've got my little colour picker and I'll go down to something nice and yellow. Click on that and then click OK. Now maybe that's a bit light. Okay, let's go back into that again and let's take that down a little bit. Yeah, something like that. Yep, I do like that. And then maybe, what about the opacity? Yeah, I think that looks okay. And then we'll click OK. And you can see now that in the layers panel, tagged on to the bottom of the text layer itself, we've got effects, and I can switch them off and switch them on. And here are each of the individual effects. So we've got a bevel and emboss, we've got a stroke, we've got a colour overlay, and we've got a drop shadow. And all those together create a style. So individual effects, combine them together, multiple effects will create a style, and this is the style that we see now on the text. Okay, now I've just spent quite a while creating a style, creating a look for my text. Now it's something that I don't want to repeat this in the future. This is a style that I may think, oh, I might use this quite a lot. So it'd be useful to be able to save it out so I can use it again in the future. Now how can we do that? Well, we can do that through the Styles panel. Now if I go to my window menu and down to Styles, I get the Styles panel, and these are all styles that ship with Photoshop. But I want to create my own new style. So I'm going to go down to the New Styles icon at the bottom of the dialog here. It says Create New Style. I'm going to click on that and I'm going to call it Chrome Appear. I'm going to tick, don't want me layer effects including, yes. Don't want any blending effects including, yes. Don't want to add it to my current library. Well, no, we're not bothered about libraries today. And then I'm going to click OK. And you'll notice right at the end here we've got one, and if I hover over it, it tells you that this style now is called Chrome Appear. So let's go, and what I can do is I can throw away this style that we've created. So we're back to our basic text, so any text, anywhere, anyhow. All we do now is we open the Styles panel and we're just one click away from attaching all that work we did in that style before. Is that not cool? Okay, well that's nearly it on our little chat about effects and styles. Let's have a quick recap. What have we actually done in this video? Well, number one, we've added and positioned some text. Number two, we've added multiple effects to form a style. And number three, we've saved out that style as a new style in the Styles panel. Well, I hope you found that useful. If you did, please give me a thumbs up or leave me a comment in the more area under the video. And please, if you get a minute, click on that subscribe button and help me to grow my Photoshop learning community. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.